quorum. The March 24th, 2026 meeting of the Oconee County Library Board is called to order. Cliff, would you lead us in invocation, please?
Absolutely. Lord, thank you for this time for us together, Lord. Please bless each and every person up here. Bless our ability to process and make decisions, Lord, for the good of people of Oconee County and the library system. Please give us the discernment that we need to be able to lead this in the right direction. We ask these things in your name.
Pledge of Allegiance, please rise.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You all have a copy of the minutes, and are there any additions or subtractions from the minutes that need to be made? Does anyone make a motion to approve?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes.
Second? Okay, second. Cliff and Kim. Okay, we have 4 minutes per person for public comment.
Oh, we have to vote?
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, that would be nice, wouldn't it? All in favor of approval of minutes? Any opposed? Okay, no public comment. Time for board member comments. Do we have any of those?
You know, I had just a couple of things going through this detailed packet. There are so many positives. I went to the board meeting for the Friends of the Library last week. Oh my gosh, those guys are just amazing. And I asked them for help finding volunteers to work on the landscaping around the buildings, like maintain weeds, things like that. So they're gonna try to help us with that. I think that's part of our strategic plan, is the appearance of the outside of the buildings. So that's great. The children's programs, wow, the numbers are up, as we expected, but they're up huge. The read-alouds, that's just great to see how quickly people have bought into the return of that with our new librarian. And I also wanted to mention Leah Price, what she and her staff do at Westminster, that Seed Library. Have you guys been to see that? Oh, you guys, you cannot believe, I mean, how many of these packets they put together, and it said the number in there, over 1,000 have already been put out. Wow. And I just need to volunteer to help her, because I don't know how she's doing what she does, but it's just a huge outreach. I'm just so impressed by it.
They'll definitely take volunteers to help pack it seeds, because I think after their hands have cramped up from doing probably literally 1,000 packets or whatever, they would always take help with packing seeds in the spring. Yeah.
And there's so many other positives too, but those were just a couple things that jumped out to me.
Excellent. Anyone else? Okay, Friends report.
Okay, you all do have the sale numbers for January and February in your packet. Honestly, the booth in Seneca is still doing very well, even after the holidays. The basement sales have been good, even with weather issues. We actually had to miss a sale due to one of the snow ice situations, but they've been very good. So the 2-month period, they brought in over $11,000. They to continue to process donations, a bunch of donations we get in. Again, probably the biggest thing that they're kind of trying to move right now, they've got a bunch of plastic model and World War I, World War II, more modern aircraft magazines, fighter aircraft and bombers and that kind of stuff. So I know they are trying to move those. Got a big donation still do puzzles, they've been getting in a lot of puzzles. I think as people are, been cleaning up their puzzles and wanting to see what else they can get their hands on as the winter moves into spring, they still do a lot of puzzles. So they, of course, they do give us a contribution every 6 months of pretty much half of what they make. But also they have gone ahead and funded to the tune of nearly $4,000. They funded the summer reading program again for this coming year. And we've already received the check on that. They passed that at their board meeting that Kay mentioned. And then they have $2,000 for adult summer reading. So all of our prizes, a lot of the other stuff that we're gonna do in our programs that they have helped us out with. So, they, again, are just almost a machine. I hate to say it that way, but they are almost a machine with the way they do the sales and stuff. They've got, really do have a well-oiled machine down there and have, really contributed to what we're doing at the library. So not only can we count on them for, just funding along like wish list, each branch gets $1,500 for wish list. Public or even the staff, they can do that. The summer reading and adult summer reading, and then any other time we come to them with a special project, we don't wanna do a new kind of kit, we wanna add some more things to the library of things, whatever we go to them with, pretty much, they just say yes. So, very valuable. Just got a chance to go to the Directors Summit back in early March down in McCormick, South Carolina, and just listening to some of my other colleagues. Some systems have like a friends group for every branch, which I'm glad we don't have, and that kind of thing, and just listening to some of them. Some of them have defunct groups, unfortunately. Some of them have a group where, one of the officers or somebody on the board absconded with a bunch of money, and so they had to restart the whole friends program. Just hearing all the different horror stories and knowing how well we have it, was encouraging. Just coming back and seeing, what all they do for us and getting the numbers every 2 months is just very encouraging. We do have a very active and very valuable friends group that we very much appreciate.
Okay, committee reports. Do we have a finance committee report?
No report from finance.
Okay. Policy and personnel,
No report.
building and grounds?
Not yet.
Not yet, but we should have one.
Oh, yeah.
next month. That's right.
Feels like we were just here.
I know.
We were.
Community relations.
None this month.
Okay. Okay, chair's report. I want, speaking of all our committee has done, thinking of that and speaking of our committee reports, I want to encourage each of you in your work on this board and on your committees. Your efforts are vital. You have accomplished much, and we look forward to a productive 2026. L.D. Johnson wrote, "In what really matters, humankind has long understood the importance of securing, storing, maintaining, and making available the viewpoints, understanding, stories, art, and actions of those who are able to record their observation. Each snippet of written words, each image reveals a piece of story of humankind. It's only through the passed down written word and images we can comprehend our history, the bigger picture of past mistakes, past accomplishments, how far we have progressed, what we have fought for, and what we're capable of, good and bad. Large cities, small towns began to build libraries for everyone, and everyone to have access to whatever interested them. The libraries helped build and improve their communities. The literacy of the citizens became enriched. People began to think about how their community could be better, how the economy could be improved, how their community could be guided into the future and not fall behind or die. With the advancement of technologies, libraries raced to keep up. They have always depended on the generosity of donations to maintain the public libraries, and the more that the community supports them, the more services they can offer, and thus the community members benefit from their generosity. Even if the donors don't use the library often, they benefit by leaving a community well-read, well-informed citizens." He says, "I recently went over to one of our Johnson County libraries soon after it opened. I felt as if I'd walked into a town square. Mothers were sitting around tables catching up on news with each other. Their babies slept in strollers beside them. Their toddlers busy at other tables working on art projects with paper, scissors, and crayons, and chatting with each other. Children on the floor between book racks sharing with each other what they'd found in a book they just pulled off the shelf. An older student off by himself reading a book and taking notes. Two men in one of the meeting rooms computer between them discussing something. It was such a wonderful feeling to see the community there, all using the library for different purposes. When I walk in the library, I'm always a bit awed at what it holds. The thoughts, dreams, imaginings, stories, wisdom, solutions, ideas, experiences, viewpoints, lessons learned, questions asked, wonderings, and feelings of hundreds of thousands of minds throughout history. There's no end to the wonder that lies between these buildings on these shelves. There's therefore there for everyone, excuse me. So be encouraged. The work you do is very important, and you're doing a great job. Director's report.
Okay, as you all mentioned, we've just recently been here, it seems, with, having to skip the, January meeting due to weather, so we did have our makeup in February, and of course, I did note that, in the, agenda, so that we'll have that on record, that's why we don't have, minutes from January. So, I'll just keep it really, really brief. Before we got started, I did mention, that one of our longtime employees, I talked about in my report, one of our longtime employees, Patsy Smith, that had been at Westminster. She had to leave, Westminster branch, due to, her husband's health. Sadly, we've learned that he passed away on Sunday, Russell Smith. So that we'll be at service on Friday, March 27th, at 11 a.m. at Sandifer in Westminster. We have, decided to let, with the, board chairs, we have decided to let Westminster close that day from when they would normally open at 10 until 1 p.m. so that all the staff there, and, we could send, someone to watch the branch, but there's gonna be other people with the system that also do wanna go to the funeral. So the easiest thing was just to go ahead and allow that branch to close from 10 until 1 o'clock to allow the staff to attend, Mr. Smith's funeral, and then we'll reopen the branch at 1 o'clock. So we're gonna do that. That'll be Friday, the 27th. We do have our, staff in service coming up on Good Friday, April 3rd, and we will be, meeting at the Walhalla Main Library in the morning. And then, after lunch, we'll break at 1, let everybody go to lunch, and in the afternoon, the various staffs will be back at their branches, where they usually can get some things done, in their branches, that, maybe it's a project they need to make a little more noise or whatever, I can't normally do it when we are open to the public. So, for all day Friday, all of our locations will be closed, but we will be there working, again, everyone in the morning. And we'll talk a little bit more about, in-service when we get to the part of the agenda for, our two 20-year employees. We'll talk a little bit more about that. As far as building and grounds, you all had mentioned, I did send out the picture. They did fix a portion of the side entrance, fix the concrete to the side entrance at the Walhalla branch. That's looking a little bit better. We still do need to see about probably getting some landscaping out there or whatever that maybe can make that look a little nicer. I had to laugh. So the administrative assistant for facilities maintenance, when I sent that request in, he said, "Oh, I didn't know anybody used the Wanderway, the trail." So I'm like, no, they actually use it, believe it or not. I mean, Walhalla's doing a good job. They actually use this thing. So we get that side of the building looking a little nicer and that kind of thing. Our Seneca manager, Emily Sluter, has put in some requests to get some, like the fascia and some things, at least pressure washed, if not painted, there at Seneca. So we'll be trying to improve that as well. And then our new smart boards have come. I mentioned those before. I think Kim got to use it on Saturday for her class, so.
Nice.
New smart boards are really nice. I think they're gonna be even better than what we had before. So we do have one of those at our Walhalla and at our Seneca branch, and those will be available for, staff certainly, but also some of our programs. People come in with a laptop or whatever, you just plug right into it and it mirrors your laptop. So if you have a presentation on it or whatever, you can also use the smart board there, as well. So we got those in, just this last week. And that's the director's report.
I had a question about number 8, about you had requested to raise the pay for part-time pay, which I think we've all talked about in the past, needs to happen. And then Leah Price mentioned it in her report that, let's see, she has staff that are earning, less because their staff mark than county people who are on
That's right.
$4
When
more.
Ms. Smith left,
said it's a problem.
That's a county
Problem.
position.
Yeah.
One of the two legacy ones that we have left. They converted most of our part-time positions over to staff mark. But we had two positions that we managed to hold on to. One is at our Wahala branch, and one was that, Patsy had been, she started with us before they ever went to staff mark. So she was still county. We kept that position. We did want to keep it as county. County part-time, minimum starting is 15. Staff mark, I have to start at 11. I don't have any choice. So that is a problem. We have made administration aware of that problem. In my budget request to council, I did ask for enough in that professional line item. If you all have your packet, it's about 3 items down there, the professional staff mark, which is currently at 150. We did request that go up to 163, so that I can get everyone at least to $12 an hour, and then possibly some of the ones that have been with us longer to 13. It's still not 15, but it's what I can get. So we are working on that, and I hope that request does go through. And of course, we did also, in our budget request to council, ask that Carrie's position, our library resource associate, her position, be added to payroll. So those were our two budget requests. There was some minor differences. We asked for a little bit less, I think, in a couple of our utilities, because we projected out we won't need that much, and I think we asked for a little bit more in copy, because, we make copies for both ourselves, and the public also makes copies. We make copies for staff, for all of our calendars and all that kind of stuff. We do most of our printing in-house. Occasionally, we'll send something out to Vistaprint or whatever, because it is a little bit cheaper to have bulk, like if we're gonna do the reading logs for summer reading, that's a little easier just to get sent off at once. We don't have some poor staff member standing at the copier for like 2 hours feeding paper into the thing. But for the most part, we make all of our stuff in-house. We have really good, Bethany Culp, who's our collections manager, is also great with graphics, makes our calendar, our events calendar, which I think you all have seen. So we print most of our stuff in-house, so we did ask for an increase in the Xerox charges as well. We'll continue to work on that part-time thing. When they did the Evergreen study a year and a half or so ago, and they set the bottoms even for part-time, and also for my starting full-time positions like circulation assistant, courier, those are all $15 an hour. So for the full-time, the 37 and a half hour, that's 29.2, I think, or something like that. But yeah, so they all have a floor of 15. Because I even asked about that. I said, here I have a person who's gonna be starting brand new, and they're gonna make more than, someone that's been there a couple of years. But it's just the difference between, we pay overhead with the staff mark, so I have talked to the county administrator about moving them back over, because he recognizes, okay, one, there's this disparity, and two, if we're paying overhead, can we not just pay, and they don't get benefits, so can we not just pay for them like on county payroll? So I have spoken to the administrator about that already. We'll see what happens in this year's budget, and depending on how that goes, I'll definitely have to have more conversations with Mr. Jones about, can we accelerate moving all of our staff, back over to part-time rather than staff mark?
One of those staff mark employees apply for that job?
What's that?
Can one of those staff mark employees apply for the county?
Yes.
job? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, old business, building and grounds update.
Okay, so pretty much, like I said, we did get that minor fix done at Walhalla. We do have some things that we've tried to schedule at least at Westminster. We still do have our HVAC problem at our Walhalla branch, which I've made them aware of again, so they know. But I think where we anticipate the leak for one of our units that's not even on right now is somewhere in the conduit between the ground level and the upper level. So until they can get a lift, or until they can get like roads and bridges with a bucket truck over or whatever and check that out, we're kind of just sitting. It doesn't really do too well in the computer area, but it's okay. We put a fan back there for when it warms up. We had a couple of warm days that we've had a fan back there. We do have a fan in that little Macaulay room that we created, and there's also a space heater in there, so we can go either way. But long-term, obviously, that's gotta get fixed, but it's just, you know, they're aware, they know, but until they can get the proper equipment to get it done, you know, we're kinda stuck. And that's pretty much building and grounds for the moment.
What about Seneca?
Hmm?
Weren't they gonna wait for springtime to, the handicap?
I haven't heard anything else. I know a lot of like we're still on the schedule to do it. I don't know if I think with some of the administrative changes that have come with the county, I don't know when or even if now they'll be able to hire an asphalt crew leader. So, you know, depending on how county goes with the budget this year and everything else, depends on, can they get it done this spring? Can they get it done this summer? Are we put off for another, you know, until fall? I've heard nothing else, unfortunately, on the paving at Seneca. And with the changes in county health insurance and personnel and finance, everything else has kind of been low on the totem pole, but we'll circle back around and make sure that, you know, if Kyle can tell me something, Kyle Reed, who's the head of Roads and Bridges, if he can tell me something, or if I need to speak to Mr. Jones again and find out, you know, is this realistic, is it gonna be sooner or later, can you just give me a ballpark? Because we still have a problem in Seneca, obviously, I mean, you know, we still need that ramp, or that entrance, that parking.
Yes, sir. Strategic plan update.
Okay, just briefly, again, we have gone ahead and added the resource list. That is under, right now, it's under the homeschool, like, so if you look at library resources, it's on that page. Okay, and the list is there and everything else. Eventually, we will try to move that over to where it's a little more prominent, but right now, that was just to get it up there, to make sure that it was available to people. We went ahead and put it on the youth services page under homeschool resources, library resources, so you can kind of find it by going there. As you mentioned, we are trying to start working on some of the beautification and the other things, trying to get volunteers. We have started reworking the volunteer program. We're kind of trying a little bit of a pilot. We're gonna have some interns for, the summer, reading program with youth services, so they're gonna try that out a little bit if that works. We've tried a teen advisory board, we've tried a few other things, it hasn't worked in the past, but Emily, having been a teacher and whatever, she's got some different ways of looking at things and trying to motivate, so we'll see how that works. We may come back to you all. That may be something even slightly apart from like regular volunteers, if we do some sort of an intern program or something, so we may come back to you all. We'll see how it works for the summer, and then, because she's gonna use them for the kickoff at High Falls, she's gonna use them for, I think, our major programs over at the Performing Arts Center, so that's like Critter Keeper and, I can't think of what the other one is, and then the, end of summer bash at South Cove. And see how that goes, see how they work and everything else, and then we may try to make that like more permanent. So that also, so we are working on, you know, various aspects of trying to, some things are just normal operations, we keep going. Of course, we are trying to do some hiring. We've had a couple of vacancies come open for part-time at Walhalla, and we are doing interviews right now for that. And then, of course, you know, we get our situation in Westminster solved. We think that one it hasn't been completed yet. I think they've decided on who they want, but we haven't gotten through all the HR stuff yet, so we can't announce that yet. But we do think we'll have our part-time position filled in Westminster, and then, you know, we're working on some of the other goals right along.
Great. Okay, new business, update on fiscal year 27 budget.
Okay, and I pretty much had already covered that, mentioned, you know, our two big requests, obviously. Like I said, there were some small adjustments in line items for various things, like, again, we made a few adjustments for, I might have even mentioned it actually in my report, but we did make, some minor adjustments for, I think we took food down and postage up, because we do a little bit more ILL than we've been doing. And so interlibrary loan, and so, we've had bigger packages that they can't just, most of the stuff that goes through interlibrary loan, the county will just meter it here so it comes out of the county postage. If we have something a little bit bigger, if we have 2 or 3 books that need to go back to like Spartanburg or something like that, and it's a small box, that's more than they want to meter, so then we pay the postage on that. So we're looking for a little bit more in postage, probably a little less in food. I mean, the only thing we really use the food budget for now, don't have, you know, like the Friends basically help us with some of the big things. So pretty much the only thing we use the food for is like staff training days and that kind of thing.
You're gonna use
So-
that for April 3rd? You're gonna have food
Yes.
for, that's great.
Yes.
That's good.
So we asked for a little bit less than that. So we made a few minor adjustments in line items, and I'm sure they're gonna wanna make a few adjustments as well, depending on like what they anticipate for, like I said, utilities, that kind of stuff, whatever. If they're spending a little more or a little less on electric. The water had gone up in both like Westminster and Walhalla a couple of years ago, and so we had to cover that. But, the big things that we did ask for were to have Carrie's position picked up, because this is the last year of her grant, and increase those part-time, increase that professional line items so that we can increase those part-time salaries, because they're just very, very low. Those were our two big budget asks. We do know that on the state level, the House of Representatives, it came out of their Ways and Means Committee, and they did go ahead and pass that the smaller counties in South Carolina, so that's basically a half and half split, probably about 22 counties, I think, something like that, that get the minimum, and that's $150,000 right now, and they put enough in the state library budget, in the full house, to go to 200,000. So for your smaller counties like, you know, Abbeville or Marion or something like that, that's enormous. Chesterfield, you know, that kind of thing, it's huge for them, Clarendon, some of these smaller counties to get that $200,000, I mean, that's, you know, the bulk of their library budget, honestly. For us, we are one of the per capita counties, so it won't really, you know, affect us one way or the other. But the strategy of the Library Directors Group, APLA, the Association of Public Library Administrators, our strategy has sort of been over the years to work with the legislature. 1 year we go for the larger counties, and that benefits us because that's per capita. And then, you know, once we've had a few successes, then we go for the smaller counties to get that minimum up. I mean, when I started, the minimum was either 75 or 100,000. So then getting up to 200,000 is enormous for those smaller counties. That makes a difference basically between keeping the doors open and being able to actually do something, do some programs, do some other stuff. And then I believe next year, we haven't finalized our goal yet, but next year our goal will be to get the per capita up from its current 275, for the larger library. So we try to take a, you know, even approach and, you know, work everybody up, try to float everybody up. 1 year it's per capita, 1 year it's the minimum, and just try to keep, you know, moving both of those steadily upward, because as you all know, the way inflation is right now, the last time the libraries had, I think, $3 per capita was back pre-2008, you know, Great Recession. And we've never caught back up. We're just getting closer to catching back up, and now, you know, inflation has gotten crazy again, so, you know, we are, and, you know, right now, the way South Carolina is growing and that kind of thing, we have been lucky. We have gotten good funding from the state over the last few years. And that is largely credited, honestly, too, to our delegation. Bill Whitmire is the, you know, second vice chair, I think, of Ways and Means, and is the chair of the committee that oversees the state library, the Public Education Committee. So when we go to present to him, he's very aware of library issues and, you know, the need for our funding. Thomas Alexander as president of the Senate, you know, by the time it gets to the Senate Finance Committee, he sits in on that. So they're all, you know, our delegation, even Mr. Duncan, our newer representative, he's on the education, so very much aware of, you know, what libraries are doing. Tomorrow at 10 at the State House, we are actually having a resolution, that was passed in the House and was also, sent over and passed in the Senate. There's a resolution which, will be, discussing and talking about the contributions of South Carolina libraries. So they passed a resolution in the State House, and I'll get you all a copy of that once it's gone through and everything else and all, then we'll get you all a copy of that. I think even in the legislation, it says they're supposed to send a copy to each library system, so we'll have like a nice one. If I get it in time, we'll have it available for everybody to see if you know, to come to our in-service. But either way, we'll display it. We'll display it at the library. It should be on the nice paper with a seal and all that kind of wonderful stuff. So we do actually have a resolution that the library administrators were able to get sponsored and get passed in the State House and Senate, you know, celebrating the accomplishments of South Carolina libraries. So that's tomorrow at 10 at the State House. can't go unfortunately, because we're a little shorthanded, and I've got a first steps meeting tomorrow at midday, so, but I'll be definitely watching it on the recording. And we do have about 20 directors that are gonna be able to go and be present, when that's presented.
Terrific. And also recognition of 20-year service employees.
Okay, so we do have, back in October, he started in October of 2005, so back in October, we celebrated Jonathan Hunter, who's our assistant manager at the Seneca branch, and then Leah Price just this last week. Hers was March of '06, so we now have two 20-year employees. And in this day and age, especially, that they have stayed with us, have advanced in the system. I mean, Leah started out in circulation, Jonathan started out part-time circulation. Now Jonathan's an assistant manager. Leah has been our branch manager at Westminster since 2011. These are two very valuable employees to us, and for them to have put in that kind of time with us, we felt like deserved, recognition.
Absolutely.
So if you want to do it, like a motion and a second for that resolution, we'll do that.
Yeah, do we have a motion for that resolution?
I'll make a motion.
How about a
I'll
second?
second.
Okay, great. All in favor?
Who was the second?
Me,
Tara?
Karen.
So we will, we have certificates and, some cards that, you all have taken care of and generously have given. And we will present those to them at the staff in service on Friday, April 3rd, along with the certificates, to honor their 20 years of service.
Terrific. Next is executive session. Do we have a motion to enter executive session?
Motion to enter.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay.
Nick did.
Thank you.
me something.
Cliff, where's your man? I need one, don't I? I need a fanny pack. I have these, well, you can see, I need something. I really need some.
No action was taken in executive session. Do we have a motion to re-enter conference? Second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
First. Second.
All in favor?